Hello everybody, Dave Neal here, stand-up comic, host of Bachelorette Recap, premiering June 7th, 2021. That's the Monday after Memorial Day with Katie Thurston, as seen in this first impression photo here. She was a fan favorite contestant of Matt James' season of The Bachelor. And, of course, while she didn't finish in the top rankings, she ranked very highly in all of our hearts for being authentic. And I wanted to talk to you guys about the $1 million decision she made to whip out a adult toy of hers. Now, because of the YouTube algorithm, I'm going to be very careful with the words that I use because YouTube's a very puritanical and PG platform here. So if I use the wrong terminology, sometimes they will demonetize and shadow ban my content. So we're talking about this Excalibur-like electronic device in her hand right now. When you need two hands to hold it, you know you got yourself a weapon. Now, of course, I say $1 million decision because it was because of her decision to own her sexuality and say, hey, this is okay. This is a part of me. I'm bringing this device with me because I'm, when I'm not on a date with you, Matt James, I need to keep the ladies entertained. So she becomes a fan favorite and then, of course, now becomes the Bachelorette, which we know as Bachelorette, they get paid several $100,000 plus a platform of a lifetime, which is rightfully deserved because Katie Thurston, unlike some of the previous Bachelorettes that we've had, is a true. I think she's a true gem for what we need in a Bachelorette. She's 30. She's a homeowner. She's had a full-time job, I believe, as a working at a regional bank or something. The point is that she's not just someone who came out of college and isn't ready for love and decided that they would go on the show to get Instagram famous, because that's kind of what the show has become in some regards. But she's somebody who she advocates for important issues, and I think it's important in May, nonetheless, to talk about mental health awareness and also the destigmatization of over-sexualizing women's bodies, but not just over-sexualizing, but then not having them be too sexual and kind of like the control. There's a quick quote I wanted to read here. Let's see if this is. I'm gonna go through a few different articles. Wow, that's not it. Let's start here. Just for the first paragraph. The policing of women's sexuality is pervasive throughout society. Women are expected to be pretty, but not too pretty. Smart, but not too smart. Sexy, but not too slutty. The female body is critiqued in all regards, and we need to change that. I mean, just yesterday, Demi Burnett was talking in her interview about why she was so nice to Reality Steve, because she felt like she needed to be nice to him, or else he was gonna, treat her as the B word or this or that, or tough to please. And then when women can be nice to men then think that's an invitation for some other sexual advances. And unfortunately, it's like we need to come to a realization that women can march to the beat of their own drum or whip out their adult toys on national TV and be okay with it. And everyone goes, well, Dave, I don't know, ABC, it's owned by Disney. Look, they have a fantasy suite, okay, guys? So enough with the innuendos. They have a fantasy suite, and as we saw in the promo here, the promo that they just released a few days ago, the tagline above the Bachelorette here says, see what all the buzz is about. I love a good innuendo. If you don't know, now you know. Of course, buzz referring to vibrating devices within a molded synthetic you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, she says, good vibes only, see you then. Now, of course, she whipped this out on Matt James' season. It created some controversy because there is a segment of our culture built on purity culture. It's like, I don't care what women do with their body. Imagine me with a little bit of a side bob haircut kind of thing. And not a Karen. I'm not using the word Karen now, but someone like that, a Kristen. I'm looking at you, Kristen. There's always a Kristen who's like, who, me? Yeah, you. I'm talking to you right now, okay? No, there's always someone, I don't care what people do on their own time, but I don't think it's appropriate. Listen, you're watching a show where a bunch of people are throwing their bodies at each other, fantasy suites, whatever. Maybe they end up in a marriage. Maybe they put a tracking device under the trunk of someone's car. We just don't know how it's going to end, folks. I'm not saying that to normalize it. I'm just saying it's a crazy world out there. And the Bachelor, Bachelorette, the whole franchise, they cast crazies, and it's good that we finally got someone who's got some authenticity to her. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you a stand-up clip from the time I received a box full of adult toys that were sent to me from Adam and Eve. It's not a sponsorship for them, but it was a very funny kind of moment that I had on stage. So I'll share that at the very end. So stick around for that. But let's see what Matt James thought about this $1 million decision. And again, this is, I mean, honestly, when it's all said and done, this is probably like a $5 or $10 million decision because Katie's going to shoot up to stardom. And the fact that she was authentic and showed who she was, it really resonated with a lot of people. The Bachelor kicked things off on Monday night by jumping directly into the action in every sense. You may have been confused when at 8 p.m. on the dot, we all watched as contestant Katie Thurston brought Matt James her vibrator for her limo exit stunt. She hid the device behind her back as she launched into a monologue about how quarantine had been tough for her, but she'd gotten through it thanks to her trusty pink vibrator. Then she held it out to Matt, declaring that she wanted to pass the torch to him. So it's a whole thing here. It was a great icebreaker, Matt James told Refinery via Zoom after the premiere. It takes a lot of balls to do, or ovaries, or whatever sexual organ you identify with, to do something like that. She's super confident, and I respected it. I wasn't upset about it. Why would you be? Katie bringing a vibrator was actually a pretty good way for her to introduce Matt to her bold personality. She's pretty open about all aspects of her life, and she's just as willing to talk about her vibrator on national TV as she is to share a TikTok story about pooping herself, which, by the way, is a fantastic story. With Katie, what you see is what you get, and even if some people may think it's a little TMI, but her brand seems to be working for many people since she's already amassed 250,000 followers on TikTok. Listen, if this is TMI for you, why are you watching the show? You're a voyeur. We're all voyeurs. We're rubbernecking on the highways accident here. We're watching the show. We're everything about this should be TMI. Everything about this. If you don't like it, go watch Survivor. For all the prudes out there turning it, this is for you, Kristen, with a hard K. For all the prudes out there tuning in to watch a TV show about people making out but finding themselves shocked at the mention of self-pleasure, it's worth noting that Katie is not the first Bachelor contestant to show up with a vibrator. Lacey Fadul from Juan Pablo Galvez's season told Women's Health that several contestants packed their vibrators for her season of the show, and Courtney Robertson, who won Ben Flajnik's season, once said her biggest packing regret on The Bachelor was not bringing a vibrator. Not only is there a lot of downtime when filming the show, but there's a lot of understandable sexual frustration as the contestants fall for a guy and then have to wait days for a chance at a date. Honestly, these women from previous seasons and Katie are just blessed with the gift of forethought, and more power to them. Katie clearly knows she made the right call per her first Bachelor confessional. I strategized, and some girls are going to lose their minds because they didn't plan ahead. Well, there you have it. Don't bother Katie. The electric bill comes in, and boy, does she owe some. Okay, so we're going to go through a few things here. Katie now, because of how it went on Bachelor, she became the Bachelorette. Big news. I mean, big news. She's like when Tom Brady went in the 6th round and became the greatest football player of all time at the 199th pick. He was a long shot. Katie Thurston was a long shot because she didn't make it to the top 5 or whatever. She was like 12. What was she? But either way, Bachelor producers, they knew what they were working with, and they were like, "We want you back." And sure enough, they're getting her back. They did they did that subtle little buzz promo thing there for, and I hate that I have to show tvshowsace.com because this website is atrocious, but she did clap back at them. So after posting the what the buzz is about promo photo, she clapped back at the haters with a quote. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this quote's from Marilyn Monroe.
Because guess what? If you don't love me at Dildo Girl, then you don't deserve me at I Do.
I mean, Socrates couldn't have said it better. If you don't love me at Dildo Girl, you don't deserve me at I Do. I mean, poetic justice, full licensing, and there you have it. I mean, she's one of a kind. So the question is, why is buying sex products taboo? Now, as you guys know, our country was founded on Puritans that were escaping Europe, and we've got the Quakers and Mormons, the Catholics. Hey, a lot of sexual guilt here, a lot of guilt in general. I'm sorry. Why? I don't know yet, but I apologize. All right, I'm sorry for being me. So listen, our whole country, you can't show, you start to see the areola of a nipple. People lose their Instagram account. It's just bananas what's going on out there. It's bananas. We're just starting to, liberate our sexuality. But I mean, geez, it's 2021. What took so long? So to think of all the shame that's out there, all the guilt, and we talk about Mental Health Awareness Month. I mean, we need to be okay in our skin, and we need to be okay of other people in their skin and not worry what they're doing with their bodies. And that's what it comes down to. Who knew your boy was such a feminist here? But why do I care? And what am I going to do to stop what women do with their bodies? I asked my fiance this, and I know we've talked about it on the podcast, but I said, Tasha, when was the first time you bought a sex toy? And she said high school. And I said, did you do it was it as a joke or for your pleasure? And she said both. People were buying things like, ooh, this is, and I get it. I remember when the first time I went to an adult DVD store or VHS back in my day, you'd be all nervous. Before you had porn on the computer or whatever, you just, I get it. I look like, whatever. I look like I saw my first K-pop star. I was like, and it's like, geez, it's like, big booty bundle number 7 or whatever it is. And look, I get it. I get there's but it's kind of like in other societies, they introduce a glass of wine to the kids when they're maybe 14 or whatever. You have a glass of wine with your family, so you're not just going to the hospital because it's your first day of college and you're throwing back Everclear vodka. Looking at you, Kristen. Back at you. But the point is that, in other cultures, people are sort of like, go to Brazil, you got the thongs, and Europe. I remember when I studied abroad in France, they had showgirls on their basic TV channel, so they had full frontal nudity, and it was like, it wasn't a crazy thing. You could go to a topless beach. Sure, don't get me wrong, you're still going to appreciate the human body, but you're not going to be so overly just like dark places like we are here. Everything's just repressed, and when you repress things, you bring out this dark energy. It creates a lot of sickness on the inside. This is true, folks. So anyway, why is buying sex products taboo? One of society's favorite things to do is to tell people, particularly women, what they should and shouldn't do with their bodies. For example, by the way, with your body, please bump your Harrison on top of that like button. And don't forget to subscribe. I could really use the traffic this week. It's a slow week, folks, but I'm really happy to make this video. It's really important we talk about this. By the way, leave a comment if you want to and share with me any stories about your sex toy purchases or because I know in the past I made a joke about how older people are so pure, and then I had a bunch of women comment that were in their 50s, 60s, 70s saying, I don't name my sex toys because I have too many of them. And I'm like, you do you, sister. You do you. So it's not necessarily an age thing. It's kind of just like a how you were brought up type of vibe. For example, being polite classically involves never talking about periods or sex products. We've come a long way in recent years in how we view sex and sexuality. Why is buying a product like a vibrator still so taboo? And we're breaking down these taboos in different ways. People are just starting to share on their platforms their stories of stillbirth, their stories of miscarriage. Thoughts and prayers to Ashley Spivey for sharing her story just yesterday, trying to having issues. And it's heartbreaking, but I think by people sharing their stories, they realize they're not alone. And by people like Katie doing something so what might appear to be juvenile or taboo, like sharing her sex toy on national TV, it's destigmatizing the idea that this exists and it's okay if we talk about it. So anyway, a brief history of your pulsating buddy. The history of sex toys involves a lot of code words. Decades ago, women relied on a plug-in-the-wall kind of Old Faithful vibrator, but the plug-in-the-wall wasn't always so travel-friendly, and that's this photo right here. Doesn't this look like a Star Wars character? Like, what is that? Is that C-3PO? I don't know, C3 inches PO? Or R2D, 2R2D, 2 double D batteries? I don't know. Anyway, as Katie says, you don't use battery, you plug it in USB style. Come on, it's all waterproof. Thanks to Sex and the City, the rabbit eventually became popularized. It was one of the most revolutionary sex toys ever invented. Since then, we've seen an array of sex toys hit the market, coming in all sorts of colors, shapes, and sizes. I always say this, female sex toys look like Dr. Seuss invented them. They're just like rubbery neon cactuses just going at it. You like that, little limbic flare I got going on? Nowadays, we have new and improved products like the Hitachi Magic Wand, which features a ton of attachments. Vibrators are also becoming increasingly less pink, which is cool because it recognizes that many people enjoy the use of sex toys, even though pink doesn't have to be associated with femininity, but that's a rant for another day. It sure is. So there's our friend SJP. Yeah, you know me. Lots of people enjoy vibrators. It's time to learn a trade secret that society, the patriarchy, fight the man, has also been kept quiet about. Men enjoy vibrators too, gasp. Even for cis couples, a vibrator can have stimulation for equal pleasure between genders, affecting various sex organs with the vibrator, but men of any sexual orientation enjoy sex toys with and without a partner. Yeah, the male sort of stigma of sex toys is a whole nother story for a whole nother time. I dabble in it in the stand-up clip I'm going to show you guys. And by the way, I don't want one comment of people telling me this is too off-brand or whatever. When it comes to Bachelor, when it comes to me, we discuss things that affect the human condition, society in general. So this is it, folks. So I tell you this, before you get to the keyboard warrior out there, Kristen, just think about yourself and think about why this affects you and wondering if maybe you need to destigmatize a little bit about. I should have a coupon code for you, Kristen. Get out there and get yourself a rabbit. Calm down. As of 2009, the number of men and women of various ages who used a vibrator was split down the middle. While 50% of women had used a vibrator, 45% of men had used a vibrator too. That includes men of various sexual orientations. And nowadays, there are even holy vibrators for religious folks. Kosher sex toys are also a thing. Can you imagine such Those aren't rosary beads. Whoop. Careful now, not after Indian. Kosher sex toys, if you don't know, okay, the UK site Love Honey sells enough lubricant annually to substitute for all of the water used in an average family of 4 for 2 months. 27,000 liters. It also sells an average of 4 products every minute. That's a lot of sex products. Sexual stimulation devices are the highest selling products among men. Oh, there's a big industry, folks. You got real smart guys from MIT. They couldn't get into the NASA program, so they're just like, let's use science for other reasons. The time has come to normalize. The time has come, all right. Just as there shouldn't be a taboo surrounding periods and tampons, there shouldn't be a taboo around sex toys and sex products in general. We shouldn't have to whisper about personal massagers in stores, especially when we know that the companies are clearly listening. Very slowly, personal massagers and sexual enhancement devices are getting into major health food stores and retailers like Target and Walmart. As sexual satisfaction becomes more and more of a market for competitors. Can you imagine a Target-style sex toy? It's just got a bullseye in it. It's like, all right, folks, careful where you place that. There's clearly progress being made, and we should be able to talk more openly about sex as a society. Kids grow up learning that this is something we talk about in hushed voices and use various code words for. However, if we openly discuss sex as what it actually is, a very normal part of our human existence, maybe we wouldn't have so many issues with the way sex is framed in the media and how that subsequently impacts young people. With enough awareness that taboo should eventually lift, and buying batteries for your vibrator will be as boring as buying batteries for your flashlight. Or flashlight, whatever you need to get, folks. So that's that, folks. That's that. And Katie's doing the Lord's work. She really is. She's doing the Lord's work. And I know, when it comes to Katie, I don't think she's very calculated with it other than saying, no, this is normal in my world, and I'm going to make it normal in yours. And because of that, there will be a lot of talk. Some people said, guys, when they come out of the limo for Katie, there are going to be so many like Buzz Lightyear, you know what I mean? To infinity and beyond. Infinity is what she calls her. All right. And so who knows? Who knows how it's going to go? But I think it's a healthy conversation to have. And I think if we're going to be watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette franchise, talking more openly about sex, it shouldn't be something that's done with such an innuendo. Like, should you forego your individual room at Ramada Inn, please choose this fantasy suite. It's like, y'all going to be banging in that fantasy suite unless you're Ivan, hanging out at an Airstream looking at you, Tasha. Look, it's not always meant to be. I'm not saying that fantasy suites mean you're going to have sex, but it's your chance to explore that before you decide to continue your relationship. So anyway, folks, let me play a quick clip. This clip that I'm going to play for you guys is actually like 4 years old. It's pretty old, but it's from a show I did down here in Southern California. I had never told this story before because, I have a podcast about sex and relationships called The Sap. And because of that, companies will send me products and random things. And we're not the type of podcast that like tests these things out, at least not in like review form. But, once in a while, people will send us, literally different, adult toys. And this is a story about that. So I'm going to play this for you, and then we'll go straight to ending the clip. So anyway, thank you so much for watching my video here. If you could do me a solid and bump your Harry on top of that like button, I appreciate that. Subscribe if you haven't already. And in the comment section, in the pinned comments, I've got the link to my mailing list. I'm sending out my first newsletter Friday, as you guys might have heard. I accidentally deleted all my contacts. I'm an idiot. So I'm trying to rebuild that and gain all of my email male contacts back up so that when the world does open back up, maybe we'll do a Bachelor-themed stand-up tour. Wouldn't that be nice? Anyway, this clip is rated R. If you're listening at work, why? You shouldn't be doing that. So just letting you know, this clip's rated R. There's some foul language, but I hope you guys enjoy. So without further ado, here's my stand-up clip talking about that one time I received a box of sex toys. Enjoy.
This is true. So I host a podcast about dating. It's about sex and relationships. The longer I've been in a relationship, the less I know about sex. That's what I'm finding out about the podcast. But this is a true story. This happened this week. I wanted to share it with you guys. Sometimes companies will send me products to talk about it on the show. And this week, I got a giant box of sex toys sent to me. This isn't Oprah right now. I'm like, look under your chairs. No, there's none of that. What's under your chairs? That's cum. That's all that is. Cum, we don't know yet. I'm catching you up. I podcast, dating, sex, relationships. Subscribe on iTunes. It's totally great. I'm not shaming you. I'm just catching you up. I opened up this box that got sent to me. All dildos, vibrators, all these crazy things. Nothing for the guy, might you add. Just ways I can please my lady. It was really eye-opening to see, very thigh-opening also, to be honest. But this is the one thing they sent for the guy. They sent a spray, and it was called genital desensitizing spray. With lidocaine in it, which is like what they do to numb your tooth and your balls. So the first thing I did, I was like, I'll see about this. Spray it on my hands like the Macaulay Culkin from Home Alone, just ready to go. My hands went numb. You ever heard of The Stranger, the movie The Stranger? Yeah, it's when you sit on your hand, it goes numb, then you masturbate and it feels like a stranger. That's what it's called. This felt like I was masturbating the stranger. That's what. I couldn't feel a thing. I put it down there. It said one pump. I used 6 or 7, whatever. Next thing you know, I'm just like a drunk guy leaving the bar. Yeah, couldn't figure my way out. And then so I went from that, and then I'm sorry this is personal, but this is all true. And then I went to that, and they had this thing. It was a little vibrating cock ring. That's what it was called. But it had 2 different holes, like that, and I had to Google to figure out what to do with the second hole. The first one, the dick, and the second one, the balls, which I didn't know. It's like a jump rope. You had to get it under. Just go for it. Just one more time for you guys. I'm so glad you guys let me share this story with you. Just got it on. My girlfriend's like, are you ready yet? She's waiting for me, and I'm just like, no. And then it slips because I can't feel my fingers. Nails me in the balls. Couldn't feel a thing. It was amazing, though, so that's very good. I gotta get out of here. I'll tell you one more joke. I learned a lot 4 years into my relationship. I learned a lot. I can't have any other girls in my phone book with the last name Tinder. Found that out. Right? She's like, who's Plenty of Fish? Paula. Christian Mingle marry. Had to get rid of Gary Grinder. It was college. Don't worry about it. Oh no. I wanted to know what my girlfriend had me saved as. I love you with this thought. In her phone. You should never know what you're saved as in their phone book. Her phone was face up. I called it. It said Dave Comedian, but the comedian was in quotation marks. I'm Dave Neal. That's my time. Thank you guys so much.